Welcome to the Barely Living Dread Girls podcast, where we like to get high and talk about horror movies. I'm Casey.
And I'm Jess, and this is our second week of Monster Madness March. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Wah. What are we talking about, Casey?
We're talking about underwater. Glub, 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 glub.
Horrifying.
Yay!
Another thing
was
that I
its
hate.
release,
The
starring
ocean.
Kristen Stewart, TJ Miller, not Kyle Gallagher, Kyle Gallagher, Peter Gallagher.
You want to look it up?
Please do. I cannot remember his first name, but he is maybe not a face you would recognize right off, but is kind of a horror king at this point, considering he was in Underwater. He was the home invader in Hush. He was the main guy in the Belko Experiment. And he was in the new movie ISS, which was, I guess, more of a sci-fi thriller. Not even sci-fi. More of just like a thriller about space. But it was kind of horrifying. So yeah, this guy's kind of...
John Gallagher.
John Gallagher, thank you. Yes, John Gallagher Jr. This guy's kind of horror royalty at this point. He's played so many different characters. And I really like him in this. And I'm glad how it ends with him, because I think he's great.
Me too.
So yeah, this movie is horrifying. I really thought it was pretty scary. I saw it, I think it was the first thing I saw when COVID restrictions lifted. And I was really excited because I have terrible thalassophobia, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm terrified of deep ocean. I'm terrified of deep water.
Me too.
So I love underwater movies. I love The Meg. I love Jaws. I love anything to do with that kind of shit. And I love Kristen Stewart. I have since even before Twilight. I loved her in Catch That Kid. I love Kristen Stewart. I always have, I always will.
I loved her in this. I thought she was really good.
She has forever goodwill with me, and I think she's a good actress, and I think she did great in this.
Yeah.
And she's rocking that fucking buzz cut so hard. Oh my god, I love her. And yeah, it's just a fun time, and it's a lot of claustrophobia, like last week with The Descent, but underwater instead of in a cave. The action starts like 30 seconds into the movie and doesn't fucking stop right up till the end.
Never.
Which I love. There
Me
are
too.
very few moments of respite, and the ones we get are usually TJ Miller cracking jokes that
At
honestly
the most inappropriate times.
really land with me. TJ Miller's comedy really gets me. I don't know what it is, but he
fucking cracked me up.
He tickles my funny bone in anything he's in. His comedic timing, to me, it just really gets to me. So I really, really loved all of his in this. Paul and Little Paul. I just think all over it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's on Hulu. Because there is, I don't know if I would call it a twist, but there is a moment at the end where you're like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming, because I did not see that coming.
110%. I was like, what the fuck? Shooketh. And even this last time that I watched it on my big screen here, like, seeing it again in that big, a big screen like we have here, I was like, oh, fuck, that's crazy. I love crazy.
Grand scale stuff. Like, I love when something like this, or like Cloverfield, is willing to go that big with something, because that is a hard thing to write around. We're doing another big monster movie, I think next week, with Godzilla Minus One.
I've heard nothing but great things.
I can't wait. Okay. Anyway, we start with some really cool opening titles that are like stylized with like headlines about this underwater mission that they're doing for some scientific exploration of some deep sea crap. Music by Marco Beltrami, and as soon as I saw his name pop up, I immediately got so excited, because since I watched this movie the last time, obviously in the last couple of years having this podcast and getting really into Dead Meat and stuff like that, I've gotten a lot more into the other side of movies as far as the people who make it. And so this was the first time I watched this, and immediately, as soon as I saw Marco Beltrami's name, I knew who he was. He is the one who did the scores for all the first 3 Scream movies.
Cool.
He is incredible. I mean, this guy, you know what I mean? Red Right Hand is, And the score is incredible. All through. The score is so fucking good. He's amazing. The writers were Adam Kozad and Brian Duffield, and then I believe William Umake was the director. I just like to give them all a shout out, because fucking way to go, guys. This fucking great ass movie, because there are really some digital effects in here. Anyway, I wrote my first, other than those little notes, my first note about the actual plot is, goddamn, I love her. Because I just really love Kristen Stewart. I just really do. I think she's so fucking pretty. I love her face. I just like looking at it. I really enjoy just looking at her and watching her do stuff. Which is kind of what you want your fans to want as an actor. Like, you want your fans to just be like, I don't care what you're doing. I just want to watch you do stuff. And I would watch her do whatever.
Yeah. I have no feelings either way about Kristen Stewart, really.
Right. I mean, if you're not a huge Twilight fan, you may not be as obsessed with her as, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people who are her diehard fans found her in their Twilight years. Of course. Just, like, she will forever have goodwill from me, A, because of Catch That Kid, and B, because she's Bella Swan. Like, holy shit, that's something to me.
Yeah. But,
she saves a little spider. I would save the spider, too.
I would, too, but I was like, how the fuck is that spider alive down there? Anyways.
Someone clearly had a spider egg on them and went down there.
I know. That's horrifying.
That's horrifying.
But immediately, like, she is in the bathroom. She was getting ready for the day, and there's these, like, alarms that start going off. And it's, like, pressure breach, and I can't remember what else, but, like, she sees a couple drops of water fall down on her head, and immediately I'm like, no, that's not good. That's not good. Because she's, like, fucking 6 miles. This station is like 6 miles under the water.
Yes, under the water on the bottom of the fucking ocean.
And there are like, what, 300 people on this station or something?
Like that. And it literally, I wrote drip, drip, boom. Because it literally, she gets like a couple little drops on her thing, and then it just like down the hall, you just see all the walls and everything just imploding and caving in on itself. And it's like coming at her.
And she's trying to like bang on doors and run down the hallway to wake people up.
90 seconds into the movie tops. Maybe not even a full 90 seconds into the movie.
I was like, we didn't even get like...
we are in it.
Yeah.
Immediately. That is... And like, because most of the setup that you need is just understanding that they're underwater on a research vessel and some shit's about to go down. And your opening titles give you that. You see her, just... That's all you really need. You don't need a whole lot of setup. I don't need her... We get a little bit of her backstory later, which is told in a great way. I don't need to see her going down to it. I don't need to see her getting the job. I don't need to see her first day. I don't need to see her meeting the crew. I don't need to see any of that before the action. No. I don't need to see any of that before the action starts. We are starting this movie right when it fucking starts. And then we learn everything else as we go. We learn their relationships, who everyone is, who's together, what her backstory is, all this other stuff. And we learn their characterizations as we're going, not setting it up in the beginning. So, you care for these people before the shit starts happening. No, right. They throw you right the fuck into it. And that is so fucking good to me. Because this is an action horror. Action sci-fi horror thriller. But it's got a lot of fucking action sequences in it. A lot. It's basically all action sequences. But scary and underwater, and it's dark.
Yeah, I'm like Casey. Being under, like, the thought of the ocean and what we don't know, what we should never know, because no one needs to know that. No one needs to know what all's down there.
We know more about space than we do about the ocean.
And I'm horrified of space, too.
Yeah, space is also terrifying.
But just the thought of the creatures not even being the worst thing to kill you. Pressure. I know it's a quick death, but to me that is, like...
horrifying.
One of the most horrifying things, because you just fucking implode.
Yeah. Like, the people in that Titanic thing, like, they heard the creaking. They knew it was about to happen. That's horrifying. Because there's nothing you can do. Yeah. You can't do anything. And the thing is, when you're down there, and something does happen, it is not a matter of just shooting to the surface as fast as you can. Yes, if you have a little escape pod, you can. But then they can't just pull you right out of that. You don't get to the surface and just pop right out. Okay, I'm good. Because you have to depressurize and all this other shit from coming up. Like, the bends, like, diving is actually a really fucking dangerous thing. Because if you get the bends, you will die.
Yeah.
Like,
It is so fucking dangerous. And so that's why
if you
it's
swim
so
too
scary.
slow, if you swim too fast, like, you really have to, like...
It's a whole thing, and that's why, like, in that kind of situation, it's so scary, because if something happens, there's no quick out.
No.
There is no, I mean...
6 miles under the water. Like, I can't even fathom.
That's why they call them fathoms. Anyway.
Got me there.
So, Kristen Stewart's name is Nora. She is a mechanical engineer. She is with only one other person when they first... So we do get a Meg-type moment when there are people running toward her and she has to shut the door so that it doesn't all collapse. But those people are very obviously taken over by the water. So it's not even really her decision, because they're not still running. We can't even see them anymore.
Yeah.
If they were still running from a distance, it might even make it a little more emotional that she has to. But we see the water come.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
Door! They're not going to make it! Close the door! You have to close the door, otherwise the whole rig will die. Shut the door now!
So she has to shut that. She's rerouting some things to make some things work. The set design is so fucking cool. Everything is so wet. But all the machines just look, like, real, and, like, the way everything's kind of glitching out, and, again, everything is so wet. Like, they had to be wet the entire fucking shooting time. And
Yeah.
that would suck. You would be so pruny.
Yeah, so there was only one guy with her at that time, right?
Yes, just the one, I don't remember what his name is, but he's
the worst.
He's cool. He is, I forget his name's mostly because he's not in the movie for as long as some of the others. Rodrigo. Yes, and they do vaguely know each other, but they don't really. But then they're trying to go to the place where the escape pods are, and along the way, they find my personal favorite character, Paul, and my other favorite character, Little Paul. Small Paul. So it is TJ Miller's character who's trapped under some rubble. They save him. He and Nora are obviously really good friends, because as soon as he sees her, he goes, "Oh, you sweet flat-chested elven creature." And I love that fucking line.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Because, yes, she is. And I love that they said that.
Well, the part after this is, like, again, horrifying. Because, like, they save him, they have to crawl through this little fucking tunnel. There turns out that there's, like, a fucking...
Flashback to last week.
Right. And it turns out there's a dead body in there of one of their coworkers they have to crawl past. And I'm just like, oh, this is... Ugh, don't like that.
Yes, lots of tense little claustrophobic moments. We get
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and I keep saying Little Paul. Little Paul is a little bunny that Paul keeps with him in his little front pouch, because that's his buddy. Just, honestly, it's Jess.
It's very me.
It is Jess. If Jess was down there, she would take
There would be at least
little
a Squishmallow. Yes.
Because you wouldn't be able to take a whole lot. They wouldn't let you take a whole bunch. You would just take one tiny one that you could keep on you at all times.
I would. I said that when I was watching this.
Yep, absolutely. That's 100% Jess. She would have a Little Paul with her. And I love that. I love that because she's my favorite and he's my favorite character. So it kind of that makes sense.
Stop.
Stop it. Yeah, John Gallagher Jr. I did write his name. I love that guy. And then I wrote, he should come to cons. You should come to cons, motherfucker. Because he's been in so many horror movies. I would kill to meet this guy. I think he's so fucking cool. He was the scary guy in Hush. He was the home invader. I love that.
So good.
And then did you see Belko Experiment?
I haven't.
Ooh, you should watch that movie. It is fucking...
Know what I'm doing when I get
home? It's a ride. It is... No, seriously. Especially to watch with a friend. It is such a good... because me, Taylor, and Katie watched it, and Geoff watched it together, and we were all like, oh, the tone of this movie is interesting. Because it's, kind of a fun time, but it's also, it's
looks like The Office.
It's Office Space meets Battle Royale.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm in.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a real good time. So anyway, we get to the captain.
Who stayed behind.
Of course. Captain stays with the ship. And a bunch of the escape pods are gone, so we assume half of them were probably destroyed. Some people probably got away already. And we get a trailer line that I absolutely remember that was a trailer line. He's like,
on a scale from 1 to 10, how bad's my rig?
10.
That was 100% like the line of the trailer.
Well, also, it's like, at this point, we're seeing, the audience, we're seeing all these things flashing, and, like, we hear this announcement saying that, like, the rig is 70% compromised.
Yeah, like, shit's going down, it's about to...
It's 30 minutes till meltdown.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, obviously, once things start doing that, the rest of the integrity of it's gonna be damaged, and then one little thing that far down, the pressure's just gonna...
Yep.
Implode, which is so much scarier than exploding. Why is that? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't care what anyone says. I think she's a good actor. I don't care. I do think she is. I think she does great in this movie. Fuck you.
So they talk about going to this station called Roebuck.
Yes.
And they need to figure out...
Because that's where another set of escape pods are.
Yes.
And they have to take a little thing down to the floor of the ocean and walk across the floor of the ocean to this other area. Which,
2 miles away.
Yes, which is 2 miles, which, like, is a long way on land times. In sea times, that's terrible. So you just put on a mecha suit and go take a walk in the deep dark ocean, and they're all like, do we have to, though?
The suits were crazy. They were very, like, I felt like they were, like, very, like, Halo.
Yes.
Like Master Chief.
Yes, very Master Chief, very Subnautica, if you ever played Subnautica.
Also, like, fucking Paul playing his SpongeBob song.
Yes. I love, oh my god.
Oh, man, I get it, though. SpongeBob gets me hyped, too. I am Paul, let's be honest.
Yes. Yes, you are. You are the comedic relief, usually. Yeah, you are Paul. And like I said, that makes sense, because Paul is my favorite fucking part of this movie. I get so sad when he goes. So, oh my god, this is when Rodrigo... So they all have to put on they have to find 6, I think, working suits with helmets that are undamaged. And Rodrigo's like, yeah, I definitely found a bunch that work. But then... the helmet that he has a crack in it. And then so when they flood the chamber and depressurize, he explode.
And they're, like, having to swim past him, and his chunks are hitting their face, their helmets. It is... Oh, God, it was a lot.
It is. Yeah, they kind of have to walk through his... cloud.
Floating remain. I can't even say remains.
Cloud. It's a cloud of what was your friend.
And a chunk of him about this big hits Kristen Stewart right in the fucking face.
Which is probably the biggest chunk of him left. So that's cool. Luckily, they didn't know each other that well. So... Oh, and so when they're taking this little thing down, it's like a little elevator type thing down to the seafloor, they get stuck. And Paul has to go and, like, fix something. Paul and somebody else. I think it's John Gallagher Jr. And there's a research assistant whose name is, I can't remember.
Emily?
Emily, yes. Because Emily is with John Gallagher Jr.'s character. They're together. And right before Paul goes outside, he's like, take this bunny, I bequeath it to you. Like, I think that his lines are so fucking funny. I think the dialogue is so crisp.
Yeah.
And so funny. Because there's so many action scenes that there's not a ton of that kind of dialogue. And I think the comedic moments are so perfectly timed.
Yeah, I agree.
I honestly love his dialogue, or maybe I just really love TJ Miller. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's both. I just really like him. I want to see him in more stuff. But yeah, Emily starts talking about the fact that she has a corgi at home.
Yeah. And then she mentions something, they mentioned something about, like, the captain's daughter, which earlier Nora was like, why didn't you go? Like, you have a daughter at home. Mm-hmm. And then, like, they were talking about it, and, like, when asked how old she was, he said 14. And Nora's like, she's got to be my age by now. He's like, oh, I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, she's like 14. She's got to be like my age. And
At first, I was just like,
and yeah,
like weird, but whatever. He's
even
probably
Emily,
like stuck. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Emily
I was like,
explains it. She's like, that's a normal thing when you're down here for this long. It's just a thing to happen, or when something like this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of, ignore that. You kind of just brush it off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, 100%. You're fine.
We get such a good jump scare here in a moment because they find a body, but then the body's moving, but then the body's not moving, and this thing screeches and comes out and tries to attack Paul. But then again, another funny moment when they bring it back inside, and John Gallagher Jr. is like, I shot it. I'm naming it. And then Paul's like,
it's probably not a good time to ask, but is that a baby?
Oh my god.
Because then they start hearing this knocking.
Yeah. I said, Paul cracks me the fuck up.
And a new species, like finding a new species like that would be so fucking interesting and so cool. But at those depths, that happens every time we go down that far. Every time we've gone down that far, we've found a new species. That's how little we know. Every time someone goes down to the Marianas Trench, every single time we have gone down, we have discovered a new species. Because we know that little, and because we've been down there so few times.
I'm literally like tearing up because it's so freaky. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Horrifying. I am so happy to stay on land. Thank you to the people who do that for research. Because, like, I'm sure that has done a lot of good things.
We literally have crafted things that can take us to space. But we haven't been able to create a device that can outsmart and outsurvive the ocean. Mm. We've never been to the bottom. Mm-hmm. Way deep down there.
Marianas Trench, yeah. Marianas Trench is the deepest crevice, and they have been down there. But it's like, I want to say less than 10 people have done it. James Cameron was one of them.
It's insane to me.
His James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. Okay, so right about now we are realizing the themes of this movie are starting to become very apparent. Obviously, it's a monster movie. Obviously, it's a sci-fi, underwater, scary, whatever. But it's also very much about the fear of exploration, which we were just talking about. Yep. The fear of knowing how much there is out there, but being afraid to see what it is, because once you find something like that out, there's no going back, there's no ignoring it, and likely it's gonna cause something terrible. The fear of the unknown is a huge part of this, because again, that exploration, and it's got a huge environmental aspect to it of drilling. Like, it's an anti-drilling, and not in your face, but it does at one point, one person says, we drilled too deep. And it's very much about that fear of nature.
Taking its revenge.
Yes, exactly. Taking its revenge for the way that we treat it, for
the neglect.
Exactly. And the drilling too deep, the exploring too far, the going places we shouldn't be. Evolutionarily, we have literally evolved so that we do not have to be in the ocean, that we aren't supposed to be in the... We can survive fully on land, and we're supposed to live on land. Evolution has dictated that this is the safest place for us, is on land, because the ocean is what it is. And yet we still, as the very curious animals that we are, build things so that we can go try to figure out what the fuck it is. And that's a lot of what this is.
Curious is a nice word.
But no, that's exactly...
No, you're absolutely right, though.
We are just very curious animals that are aware of something that we don't know and want to know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also obviously a fear of that. There's always going to be a pushback for it. And yes, this movie does feel very anti-industrial,
drilling, BP oil kind of fuck you sort of.
Yeah.
While also being a monster movie, but it does sort of have that little message behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this little creature, horrifying.
Sorry, just one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's also, I think a lot of that comes from, like, what we're talking about. Like, our fear comes from the fear of not being the apex predator in every situation. Because in 9 out of 10 times, even against bears, we are the apex predator.
Okay.
On land, we are, like, in 9 out of 10 situations, we're going to be the top of the food chain. We are the apex predator. We can fear other animals because we're smart, but we know that we are the top. And in instances like this, and when you don't know what something is or where you are, the environment or whatever, you don't know that you're the top of the food chain anymore. And that is, like, I think one of the just, like, monkey brain part of us that is an innate fear that, like, no, I have to stay at the top of the food chain because that's how I stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be the number one predator because otherwise I'm prey.
Yeah. And something I wrote down later in this, but I always find a way to bring up Star Wars. In one of the many Star Wars movies that exists. I don't know what I was trying to say. It doesn't matter. One of the quotes that I will always remember, I think it's either episode 1 or episode 2, but they're, like, running away from this fucking fish creature, and then a giant fish comes and eats that one, and he says, "There's always a bigger fish."
There's always a bigger fish.
And that is just so goddamn true! Ugh, Star Wars, you've never lied to me. Anyways.
I had an idea for a sequel for Jaws called Bigger Jaws. So then when Bigger Jaws comes up, we have to team up with Jaws to defeat Bigger Jaws. I think that's a fucking Family Guy joke. Sorry, go ahead. A lot of good action sequences in this shit.
So they're on... Oh, wait, yeah. Okay, so now they finally get out to the ocean floor. What?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and they're like, walking, and it's horrifying, because a lot of the times, the filmmakers and the camera work, they're putting you in the perspective of these people walking on the floor. Like, you have this little dome around you, your vision is clouded, you can't see.
A lot of times
it's murky.
A lot of times the screen will change to, because, like, on the inside of their helmets, they have, like, a little screen with, like, readouts and stuff. It'll change to that, to where, like, it's like you're looking out of their helmet. Like
First person, for sure.
I did notice this time around, and I rewound it to see if I was crazy or if I actually saw what I thought I saw. And it is such a tiny little thing that is fucking terrifying and easy to miss. When they first get to the ocean floor and they walk out of that there's like a big giant door that they're walking out of, to the, like, open ocean. And above, like, the door, one of those, the creature things is, like, perched. Just, like, sitting there watching them. It's fucking
I saw it at the entrance
crazy.
of the pipeline.
Was that where it was?
Yeah. Because, they're trying to get to the pipeline entrance, and, like, right above the pipeline entrance, it's that perched creature.
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah.
That's where Haley out loud was like, "Don't like that."
Yeah, it's so scary. It's, because, and again, it's easy to miss, because everything is very murky, all the colors are very muted.
They're running from this
that
falling debris, too, like,
Yes.
of the station crumbling around them, so
Yes.
they're, like, in the ocean, in metal suits, trying to run. Like, we've all tried to run underwater in our human suits, our flesh suits. Imagine doing it as fucking iRobot.
Literally.
This is why I couldn't.
It's hard to run on sand, not in water.
It's hard
You're
to
running
run.
on sand. It's hard to run.
Oh, man. It's hard to run, okay?
It is. So,
They get inside the pipeline. And there's this, like, little what was that little fucking golf cart ass fucking...
like, mine cart, kinda, but they can't take it very far because it's flooded. And then comes my least favorite part of the movie.
Oh, gosh.
We get another really tense scene, though, where... although, okay, here's one little nitpicky thing that I have. So, they're at a part where something's fallen down, and one of them has to swim under to see if there's a way out. And Nora, Kristen Stewart's character, says, I'll go through, I'm the smallest. Bitch, all those mecha suits are the same fucking size. Don't even.
That's true.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, because they are all wearing the same size mecha suit. So, and that's what I'm going to call it.
Mecha suit?
It's a mecha suit. So, I thought that was really stupid, but whatever. She does swim through. She finds the end, whatever. Everybody's swimming through one by one. And, fucking Paul is last. And he starts hearing some stuff. I think it's really funny because he's got little Paul right here. And he goes, do you want your bunny heater? And he goes,
What you doing in there, buddy? You got your bunny heater?
I don't know why this guy is so fucking funny. He really touches my little funny bone.
It was wholesome. You want your bunny heater?
And then he's like, okay, fuck this. So he swims under to, like, go through, gets to the end, but he's, like, connected to, like, a cord.
Because they, like, to make sure they can all get through, they connect each other.
So they pull him through. Because he gets stuck. They pull him through, but then the cord gets tugged. And he yells, take little Paul, and he gives it to Nora. And I cry. Because we lost my favorite character. And it's in a horrifying way. Because his friends are holding the top half of him in his suit with the helmet on. And then the bottom half of him just gets ripped to where this, like, gush of blood just, like, comes up to his, like, through his suit and his helmet. And his friends are just like...
All from that fucking cord?
Well, what I assume is what the thing is probably down there pulling him, and they probably pulled him in half.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought happened. Yeah. I mean, we did hear like a growl.
Yeah, because then once the suit like it rips, his body implodes inside there. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
So. Very sad. This is when the research assistant, Emily, she says, we did this. We took too much. Very much. It's one of the few times that the theme of this movie is in your face, is stated out loud.
Emily was very negative the whole time. Like, I get it, but...
If I was Emily as the research assistant, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. If you're starting to realize, shit, I'm in a horror movie... I'm expendable. I'm gonna be the first one to die. But then, surprisingly, she's not. So...
Smith, actually, we forgot to mention earlier, he got injured.
Who's John Gallagher, Gallagher Jr.'s character.
He got injured when they were on the bottom of the ocean. He got hit by some debris.
And so his suit is all fucked up. So, so his oxygen's real bad, so he's passed out.
He's very loopy. The rest of the movie. Yeah.
He's pretty much out of the movie. I mean, he's alive, but he's asleep like, for most of it.
Yeah, and they like start like dragging him and stuff. Yeah. But oh yeah, they the captain goes back in to get the gun from like where were they at this point? He got ripped out of his suit.
Oh yeah, because Smith gets pulled away. And he goes in they save Smith.
He got grabbed.
And Smith had a gun, so he went back to grab it.
In this, like, cavern, yeah, that's what happened.
And the captain gets snagged, and he and Nora are connected.
Oh my god, yeah.
So they're both being drugged through the water.
On this, like, line, and you just, ugh.
And they end up on this platform together, and this is when we get the first shot of our creature. Because as you see, we're doing a creature feature month. We're doing our March Monster Madness, and this is our fucking monster. Well, this is one of our monsters. And it's horrifying. It's like a fish person, alien, I don't know, lizard thing. It's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
Like the way that because it's like kind of humanoid in it, that it's got limbs. But then, like its head,
shrimp thing.
like the way it has, like its head just kind of morphs into its back like a fish. Like it's honestly really fucking scary. Creature design is super cool.
Their mouths are terrifying.
Their eyes are like little shimmering, like kind of like when you get the flash on someone's eyes in a picture.
Very much like that. Very scary.
And you see some, like, night vision.
Yes. And so it is, like, crawling toward Nora and the captain on this thing, on this platform, and they eventually are untethered, but he's being pulled up by the monster. The captain is being pulled up very, very quickly, and so his suit is like, warning, I can't handle this pressure change. You have got to slow down. Like, his suit's gonna explode. He's gonna die. And Nora's holding on to him, being pulled up with him.
And he's like, you have to let me go.
And it's the saddest fucking thing. She's like, I can't let you go. And
Let go, goddammit!
I can't.
4%. 3%.
No.
2%.
It's gonna be alright.
No, don't do that.
1%.
how do people say she's a bad actress? I can't, like, this moment when she's just like, it's such a quiet little, I can't. Like, and so he, like, takes off his, like, arm thing from his suit, and he and the creature, big explosion.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know why it was such a big explosion, but I enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh.
I guess probably from the oxygen tank.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That would...
It was, oh god. See, like I said, one of the biggest fears for me is imploding.
Yeah.
And it's happened so many fucking times.
Oh my god.
This movie.
That's like the thing in this movie.
The number one cause of death in this movie.
Literally, number one cause of death underwater is implosion.
So luckily, this being dragged by the creature helped Nora get further.
Yes.
Towards where she was trying to get.
Because Emily and Smith have... I think they've... Wait, hold on. No. Okay,
we don't know where they are at this moment because we got dragged.
Yes, and then, but Nora does wake up. She's trying to find them. She does eventually find them.
Well, she like she made it to the Shepherd Hill and like took a shower and everything. And
yeah, I love that. I do love this scene when she gets to the Shepherd, the old drilling thing, because it is a breather. This is pretty much the only one we get.
Yeah.
Because it's just her. It's less than 5 minutes. It's a very quiet scene, a couple quiet little scenes of her just trying to communicate. Just her. She takes a shower, has a little cry.
She finds the captain's.
Yes, the score calms down a little, so yeah, she does.
Yeah, she finds like an old locker with the captain's like shirt in it, and in the pocket it was a like a funeral pamphlet for his daughter who passed away when she was 14.
Which is yep.
And that was just something that we had the realization that moment, like, oh, that's why he said that.
Yep.
And it's really sad.
Yep, very sad moment, but
it makes sense as to why he like
the reason that's a good thing is because she does find his old like underwater mecha suit.
It's true.
Because hers was damaged. That's why she had to like rush over to the old station. So she does after she leaves that station, she's over the thing. She's like, I'm going to not the Kepler.
The Roebuck.
The Roebuck. The Kepler was the original one. She's like, I'm going to the Roebuck. I hope you guys find me there. And she's like trying to talk to them over their thing. She does eventually find them. And they are dragging Smith across the ocean floor to the old Roebuck station. And this is when we get Nora's backstory.
Yes.
And again, fuck you if you think she's a bad actress, because this is a great monologue. She tells her story of how her and her husband were divers, her fiance, and he went out by himself one night, and it took too long, and they never found him. Which is horrifying. Don't ever do that. Don't ever dive by yourself. Probably not a good idea. And yeah, it just like, yeah. She just does a really good job telling this little story.
And she's like, I know that's not helpful that I'm telling this right now.
Right. But it gives a lot of weight to the very end. I'm glad that we got this, because the whole time we kind of realize that she's missing a significant other, because she like looks at a picture of somebody earlier on, and she has these dog tags that she keeps in her shirt, and she'll like press her fingers against them to her chest, and she does that a few times. I like that little character moment.
Yeah.
So we know that she's missing someone like that, but I'm glad that we get this backstory specifically because it does give so much weight to her final actions in the movie.
Yeah.
But then we're back to the scary stuff because they get to the Roebuck, and it is hundreds, if not thousands, of these things.
I wrote, what the fuck are those tentacles? But it looks like I wrote testicles.
I wrote, ew, they're weird little monkey hands. They've got these
said, oh, they have to get past all that to get inside the station.
And they're like hanging and sleeping from like some ceiling.
We think.
And they have to like walk to the, and like their little like hands are like sliding across their helmets, and it's
their hands, their tails. It's hard to tell what they are.
It's disgusting is what it is.
It is.
So, Nora kind of gets caught by one and starts getting the shit beat out of her. So Emily drags Smith inside, and this thing, if you were wondering how it eats, much like my snake should be.
Also, much like Deborah Logan. Unhinge the jaw. This thing.
It is the most Deborah Logan moment that is not in the Deborah Logan movie.
That one's for you, Zach.
I'm editing both of those clips. I'm editing the one with Kristen Stewart, and then right after I'm putting in the Deborah Logan one so y'all can compare.
I'm just saying.
So,
and then they show us as her inside, and she's
yes,
like,
it literally, if you haven't seen either of them, it opens up and swallows her whole like a fucking snake. Yes. Just whole. And yeah, she's like inside, and she pulls out a gun and just, does
it's hard because
pulls a Men in Black.
Well, her arms, like, I think that's why it's so well, like, shot and, like, so well acted, because...
Sorry, someone thinks they're cool with a car and
small
Muncie.
peepees.
Yeah.
You hear small peepees?
They're really cool.
Ooh. Anyways, small peepees aside.
Drag racing in Muncie.
But, yeah, these fucking, these creatures.
I started watching Drag Race.
So, what I think is really cool is this creature is, like, going, like, halfway down her body. Like, she's almost swallowed up. So she doesn't have a lot of range of motion to point the gun upwards. And so I thought that was really cool because you could see, like, the struggle of her, like, really trying to, like, point it up
without shooting herself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or just, I mean, while she's slowly getting digested into this thing's fucking body.
Yeah.
It's
pretty great.
But yeah, so she, like, rips herself out of the creature after she shoots a hole through it. It was fucking crazy.
And then she lands to the floor, and while she's laying there looking up, we get the reason that I love this movie the way I do. If this part didn't happen and it was just these little things, I would like the movie. I would thoroughly enjoy the movie. The reason I big time heart love this movie is because the ceiling, whatever these things are attached to, hanging from, suddenly is lifted away from Nora, who's laying on the ocean floor watching this. And then it turns out it's Cthulhu. It's a secret Cthulhu movie. And its design is so fucking good.
It is massive.
So he's covered in the babies. He's covered in all his little Cthulhu babies. And he stands up and he's got like these 3 jaws.
His mouth is like a fucking cavern. It's horrifying.
And she's just like looking up like, oh, okay. So she eventually does. So
okay, just like, can we get a round of applause for like, because why is this the first time this has happened in a movie? How has this not happened before this 2020? How have we not had a movie about fucking Cthulhu? Because this is horrifying. This is so fucking scary to me. I am so into it. So, and I love that it's like a final, like you didn't know that that's what it was until right fucking now. So she does eventually get inside. They find 2 working escape pods. John Gallagher Jr. is all fucked up, but even in his fucked up state, he's like, no, you guys, you go first. I'll go last. And so they shove him in there. And then Emily realizes at the last second that there's not a 3rd escape pod for Nora. And Nora literally headbutts her and forces her in. And the moment that I cried the first time I watched this in theaters was, and I did not expect it. It was just one of those like, oh, and then tears started falling so fast that I didn't even have a moment to react, was when she shoves her in there and she says, do you know what I would do for one more moment with Sam? One more moment. And, like, I'm about to start crying right now. Like, I'm so, like, that kind of, like, and when a movie in a single line like that can make you feel something like that, that's incredible. That shows the writer knew what they were doing and the director knew what they were doing. And it just, like, that moment hits. Everybody has felt that way about someone. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the world, when she says those words, whether it's a significant other, a dad, a mom, a brother, a friend, anybody, everyone in the world knows someone that they would just, they would do anything for one more fucking moment. And so she sends them both up, and as the 2 escape pods are going up toward the surface, this horde of these things start, like, swimming up toward it. And,
here's my question, though, Casey. If the pressure killed one of them for swimming up so quickly earlier, why didn't these ones die?
The pressure didn't kill him, the thing earlier. The explosion of the captain's thing killed it.
Okay.
Because the captain exploded because he took off his suit and imploded, which exploded his oxygen tank, which made a big enough explosion for that specific one to die.
Gotcha.
So I don't think they're affected by the pressure. I assume they're a species that can go up to a certain point without being hurt.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think that's what happened to that one, is he just got exploded in turn. Like, yeah.
So Kristen Stewart is staring at this creature, this fucking Cthulhu creature, through this window.
It's such a cool shot.
Down. You got 60 seconds.
And she's like looking at this radar where she sees the escape pods and she sees the sonar of the creatures going up towards them. And she knows what she has to do.
Yep.
Gotta blow this son of a bitch up.
Gotta blow this pop stand. She puts in a little sequence for self-destruction, and it shows exactly like where
the blast range.
Yeah, where the blast range is, and it's just right. You know, the little escape pods are gonna get right outside of it, and she just kind of like sits down. She's like, "All right, I did my thing," and I again love this fucking shot that is clearly 100% digital, but is. Like, I know I talk about how much I love practical effects, and I talk a lot of shit about digital sometimes. The digital effect of, we get an overhead shot of the entire base, and Cthulhu himself, like, rising up. You get to see his little wings. He has the actual little 4, like, it is actually the Cthulhu design. He's, like, getting up to swim up toward the thing, or whatever. And right before he does, like, you get to see the whole grand scale of it all and the explosion. And it just, like, they didn't have to do that, really. They could have, you know, they didn't have to. You didn't have to see the whole thing before. You didn't have to see Cthulhu's wings. You didn't have to. That was just a little icing on top. And I really fucking loved it because it was just, ooh, it was so good. And it was just rendered so beautifully. When special effects are done, digital effects are done well, I am so all for them. In compared to, like,
what's the movie that came out last year? Last Voyage of the Demeter. I was so disappointed in those special effects because Javier Botet's makeup effects were so fucking cool behind the scenes. And then most of them were just covered by digital cartoony nonsense. Very disappointing. Not with this.
It was really heartbreaking. But we realized, like, she did this to save the lives of her friends, the lives of so many people in the future. She was like...
And she knew that the way that Emily and Smith loved each other, if one of them survived and one of them didn't, the other one really didn't either. Kind of the way she wasn't the same after she lost her fiance.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them survived and the other didn't, you would be like half a person.
Right.
Without. And so it was kind of her realizing that, like, I'm not me without my person, so what am I even doing kind of thing, which obviously you are your own whole person. Please do not take that in any kind of way.
It's just the heartbreak.
Yes, exactly. But I do think the ending credits are really cool because they go back to that same theme from the beginning, and we see
the articles.
We see the headlines of them gonna start a new fucking drilling experiment because no one knows what really happened down there.
Because the security footage was lost.
And they won't let anybody talk to the survivors. And
the government. That part's so real. The government
honestly,
would be...
it's so realistic. This part is the fact that
the fact that they were already drilling again.
Yep, that part was so... I was like, yep, that is the most realistic part of this entire fucking movie.
Right.
Because, yeah, of course they fucking would. But Cthulhu is dead. But how many big ones are there? Because he can't be the only big one. When there are thousands upon thousands of small ones, there's got to be more big ones. That was just the big one they found. That's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
And that's why I don't want to go down in the ocean, because I'm pretty sure he's probably down there. Or Godzilla, maybe. Speaking of Godzilla, I'm so excited to watch Godzilla Minus One. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either.
I plan on watching Godzilla Minus One and Godzilla Minus One Minus Color, because they came out with a black and white version of it in theaters, like right after they came out with the original. So I want to watch them both. I will say right now, for any super Godzilla fans out there that are really excited for us to cover it, or that are weary of us covering it, we will be reviewing this movie as a standalone. I will talk a little bit about the history of Godzilla that I know. I will do a little research and I'll talk a little bit about what I know already. I will probably reference a tiny bit the original and maybe the what's the guy from fucking Ferris Bueller? What's his name?
Is it
Brody? Matthew Brody.
Matthew Brody.
Yes, the Matthew Broderick.
Broderick.
Adrian Brody, Matthew Broderick. The Matthew Broderick version, because that's one of the only ones that I've seen.
I've seen that one. That one was like the early 2000s
2010,
or something.
I think, 2008, something.
I've seen that one.
So yes, I've seen that one. I've seen the original. So I'll probably reference them a little. And again, I'll do a little bit of research just so I know some things. But there are, I think, 60-something movies total of Godzilla, so I will not be watching them all. I do not know. There are people out there who have dedicated years of their life to this because it is an entire franchise on its own. It's an entire genre on its own. So what I'm saying...
Kaiju movies.
Yes. So what I'm saying, even just Gojira and Godzilla, beyond Kaiju, there's like 60-something movies. Mm-hmm. So like, we will be reviewing this as a singular movie. This is because we're doing a monster movie march. This came out very recently and is supposed to be amazing, and I've really wanted to watch it. So for anybody out there that are like, well, I didn't like it because this, that, and the other, we're not going to have a lot of reference for other Godzilla that it might be a little, it might be fucking up some of the lore. We're not going to know a lot of that. So we're reviewing it as a single movie.
I'm just trying to have fun.
Exactly. And I've heard it's really great. I'm very, very excited. And then I did put it out there, but I actually kind of forgot to talk to her about that last week. I think we're going to do Super 8 for the last week, but I thought you would be cool with that because it's kind of found footage-y, and then...
I've heard about Super 8.
You've never seen it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that makes me so much more excited because I love Super 8. And yeah, we're going to do some more themed months here coming up. But for now, we're still in Monster March Madness. Yeah, so that was Underwater. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you did too.
I did. I really liked it.
Yep. And next week, go watch Godzilla Minus One in the meantime, because it's on some streaming platforms that you can watch. I think it's on Peacock. I can't remember, but it's on some of them. So, but, while you're doing that, before you do that, whatever, go follow us on social media on Instagram and TikTok at BarelyLivingDreadful. Email us, barelylivingdreadful@gmail.com, comments, questions, concerns, or any Godzilla knowledge that you have that you want to send my way so that I don't sound so stupid. And then make sure that you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please, please, please. We need more on there. And until next week,
Stay spooky.
Bye.